Hey guys, we're here for episode 26 of the e-commerce opportunity where I'm joined by Josh. Hey Josh, how are you?
Doing well, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Doing well, man. I'm pumped to get your story. I'm pumped to kind of catch up on when we first met about a year and a half ago. So lots of good stuff coming your way. Do you mind starting with kind of what you're currently working on?
Sure. Um, I am the founder, CEO, creative director, wearing many hats here at Withco Cocktails. Withco is a fresh ingredient cocktail mix. No preservatives, no additives. We've kind of taken the challenges out of making a cocktail at home, especially when you host. So Withco stands for With Company. It's very much focused around building community, one bottle at a time. So that's a little bit about what the project is. What we're doing currently is scaling. We're learning how to scale, how to find amazing people that are a lot smarter than me, bring them on the team, and continue to push the brand as far as we can. Beverage is a very it's a very big industry. It's a hot industry right now. I think COVID kind of changed some of the habits of our consumer and our customer, and it's been a wild ride. So, the best answer your question, we're trying to build one of the most incredible beverage brands surrounding community and how we gather today. So that's in a nutshell. We could break that down into a lot of different dimensions and degrees, which I'm sure we will.
Yeah, in a second, I'd love to talk about like what you think changed in like the consumer behavior. But first, I want to talk about like the why. Like, why did you start this? What opportunity did you see? Was it a personal story? What's your why?
Yeah. I think the best answer that my why always oftentimes is tied to how I'm wired. How I'm wired is grew up as a son of an entrepreneur. My dad owned some car dealerships here in Nashville. That's where I'm out of, Nashville, Tennessee. I was more of a rebellious learner, if you will, meaning the education system wasn't my learning style, and but yet we're all put in rows and taught to absorb information and then show up and be able to regurgitate it. And for me, I wasn't the best student, not so much because a lack of intellect, but my interest was being at the car lot, learning how to detail cars, purchase cars, sell cars. It was more watching my dad solve problems for people. Then all of a sudden, I got attached to that emotion, which is I could go do anything, but I want to solve a problem. And so for me, it was about street smart. It was about learned and experience education. So between the ages of about 15 to 21, I was working the car lot. So while my friends were getting off school and going to hang out, for me, it was like, I know where I'm going. I'm going to the place where I'm learning and feeling energized and passionate. And my dad always said, it's not so much what we're selling, it's about learning to listen to the customer need and being able to solve a problem. And once you learn that, you can plug that model into almost any business or industry. And so I think I was learning more about people and problem solving than I was detailing cars and helping my dad sell them. From that stemmed almost a nature of I'm not going to go to school. I did not go to college by choice, and I think a little bit of a rebellious mind of like I want to break the system, break the mold of go to school, then go to college, and not be so certain on what the end result is or what you're driven by, you're passionate by. And so for me, I said, because I don't know, I don't want to go to school. Instead, I want to spend the next 4 years getting paid to learn something. So I went and got a job in insurance. Uh, wasn't the best fit for me, but I did really well. I was rookie of the year that year, youngest uneducated kid in a Fortune 100 company. I did really well because I took those same principles. Who are these people I'm talking to? What's their problem? How do I add value, a level of trust, and then enroll them and align them into a product offering or service? And at this time, it was insurance. And I was like, man, this does work. I can actually take the same equation into a different industry, show up and follow those steps. And so insurance was something where, I made money, I made decent money for being a, 21, 22, 23-year-old. And my friends were in college, going out partying, collecting debt. And there was almost this magnetic synergy of like, man, what's Josh doing? Like, how's he learning this stuff? Why is he pushing the limit and showing up and kind of breaking the mold, if you will? And for me, that's why I say that rebellious thing is like, wait, everyone's going this direction. I want to go this direction. And somewhere along the way, I'm going to find my way. And for me, it was insurance at that time. To speed up, left there, saw the real estate industry was exploding in Nashville. First thought is, I don't want to be a realtor. Like, I thought about my parents' realtor, and I'm like, it's just not the cap I want to wear. And I'm like, dude, you're in insurance. You were able to come into something that you thought was kind of an older industry, and you found your way and you did it your way. Now go into real estate and do that. So in about 2015, I left insurance, took a leap. I mean, I think I was at like my 6-figure year and was like, you know what, I'd rather quit tomorrow and go chase something else and learn that and kind of pull the rug out from under me, and go and see if this formula works in real estate. What I learned during that time, which is going to play in here with Withco in a second, is I love being super uncomfortable. It's how I perform when I don't know how it's going to work. If I don't have all the answers, if I don't have the education, the resources, the knowledge, etc., it's, well, jump out of the nest and grow your wings on the way down, or you can stay in the nest the rest of your life and not take that risk. And so jumped out of insurance, did the real estate thing. I think I might have lost Rookie of the Year in the state of Tennessee by like a couple deals. And to me, those accolades they don't really drive me, but it was like, oh my gosh, I just started realizing I can do this, flip the script and still solve a problem and understand how to find something I'm passionate about that also solves a problem. And real estate was a blast. I did it for the last 4 years as a realtor, but then started shifting my hat to being an investor, and bought a couple dozen rental properties and continue to do that and love that as a passion project. But last year in the start of 2020, actually the end of 19, I should say, I call him now, he's a partner in the company. A gentleman approached me and said, Josh, I see you're doing real estate. He owns a publication, and they had, around real estate, they had done a story on me about being a realtor. And he's like, I think you've got something else that you need to be doing. You've got this little cocktail company that you and a buddy started. These are basically what the bottles look like. So they're just all fresh ingredient cocktails. I'll kind of get into this in a minute. He's like, you have this amazing product that solves a problem. Why are you selling real estate? And I'm like, well, it's safe. I don't know how to build a product brand. I don't know how to scale an e-com product. I don't know wholesale distribution. I just don't, it's not a world I know. And that was holding me back. And he said, I think you were made to do something massive in your life. And I think you've got the right product. You just don't have all the information. And I think you need to go all in on that and explore it. And something started stirring in my heart, that excitement to flip the script and to jump out of the nest and to just get scared again. I'm like, I wanted to, you know what? The fear started, and the uncertainty started actually being an appetizer to great things for me, where I'm like, yeah, let me try some of that. And it's always led me to the next season or the next business. And the end of 19, he said, I'll help you with this, but you got to do 3 things. Number 1, you got to quit being a realtor. And I'm like, okay. Number 2, you have to sell one of your rental properties and use that as seed capital, because you and your family are not going to make any money for the next 6 to 8 months while you lay the foundation. And number 3, you got to go home and tell your wife your crazy idea and get her on board, because without her, this isn't going to work. And I went home, and over the next month, I did all 3 of those things. And the start of 2020, I was all in at Withco. We had no revenue coming in, but maybe a couple liquor stores. I was again leaving probably a low 6-figure comfort, and was just like, cool, now tomorrow I have no money coming in. I will not be able to get approved for anything from a bank because now I'm a lot riskier without all this real estate income. But that was that all in moment. It was all or nothing because I realized I had to get so scared that I would fight to make it happen. And I tried doing the cocktail thing on the side for about 3 years, and it never really got any traction. And so when I made that all in commitment, I risked everything. I risked my wife and I, all of our savings we blew through. I risked, you know, any commission from real estate, and I risked everything, all of our assets, and said, I'm going to go all in. And that's kind of what led us up to how I got to this moment of Withco. And little did I know, or anyone in the world know for the most part, is we were about to go through a pandemic. Like, what a time to risk it all, right? But again, we didn't know. And the beautiful thing is COVID actually played a significant role in what the last 18 months have looked like since going all in.
Man, I'm fired up for your story. We met in February of 2020 at Geek Out. I liked you. I knew a little bit of your story, but actually just learned a lot. So really appreciate you sharing that. One thing that I think that would be interesting before we talk about scaling the business and growing the business, can we talk about product development? That's not something that anyone's ever really talked about.
Yeah.
How did you go about developing the product? And what is the product? Is it alcoholic? Is it non-alcoholic? How do you use it? Can we talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. This initially, I'm going to grab something right here off camera. Initially, I love to host. That's just part of how I'm wired, is community and gathering and creating experiences for people. Every year on my birthday, which actually was a couple days ago, I always do a big party. I'm already planning one for later this month. And I love gathering. I kind of have this nostalgic Gatsby version, which is like, how do people feel when they're here? What glassware, what iceware, like elevation and experience, and ultimately community at the end of the day. So I was hosting a lot. I met a gentleman, this was like 5 years ago, who was a bartender out of St. Louis Obispo, very talented craftsman, attention to detail at heart. We got coffee, and come to find out, what really drove him was creating incredible experiences through beverage. And I knew that that was his why. Well, a few months later, I'm having a birthday, which is June 7th, 5 years ago. And I'm like, hey man, can you show up and just bartend in my backyard, bring all your tools and your, leather apron or whatever it is that could elevate it, right? Well, he said, sure. When is it? I said, tomorrow night. He's like, dude, I'm working, too short of notice. But he said, let me do something. You show up to your birthday. I'm going to drop some stuff off and make something special. And I'm like, cool. Called my wife. I'm like, hey, this guy's coming over. I've only met once. Just let him in the house. He's going to set something really cool up. And what he did is he set up a self-service bar cart on our back porch. So station one, my last name's Ellis. It said Ellis Island Old Fashioned. Station two was something around flowers, which I think now has become the Bouquet, which is one of our cocktails. And then the other one was a mule with ginger. And this little instruction card that was handwritten said, pour, it wasn't even called Withco. Actually, we had to change the company name at some point, but it was basically said, pour one jigger, which is a little pouring thing that bartenders use. Pour an ounce and a half of this, ounce and a half of liquor, stir, and garnish. And I'm like, all right, tried it. And I'm like, holy moly, this is the best old fashioned I've ever made, because I can't make drinks very well, which is so funny that I own this company. But three things happened that night. We had about 50 people over, big birthday party. And these three moments hit me. Number one, these taste great. And these were his recipes that he was selling $14, $15 cocktails. I'm like, these taste phenomenal. The ingredients, the freshness, I love them, right? And it's how neat we're in my backyard. Number two, all my guests are loving this experience. They're all making their own drinks. We're all trying each other's and being like, wow, yours tastes just like mine. So I'm like, consistency. And then last, the problem solver is, I just hosted 50 people and the only drinks I made tonight were mine. And that's where I'm like, there's a pain point when hosting. There's a pain point around community and gathering at the home or wherever you are that you're having a drink. If you don't know what you're doing, you're stuck with a subpar quality drink. The flip side is Bradley, my original founder, he knew what he was doing. So when he was hosting, he spent the whole night making people drinks. So we're like, let's take bar recipes, which is what these are. This is agave margarita. I called him and I said, if you can figure out how to bottle your cocktails that you serve in the bar, I'll figure out how to sell them. And 5 years ago, we went out on a mission, only knowing each other for one coffee meeting, and we went all in. And he created the entire line. Right now, we have 8 cocktails, from gimlets to old fashions to a CBD Paloma we're about to launch, a pineapple chili. Like, we have all these amazing things that are in the line, but it's all his work of art that we figured out how to bottle and create a product. So, we have a co-packer. We went and found a co-packer. They bottled it, got a label company. Tons of years that I just put into 2 sentences. We bootstrapped it. I put $1,000 in a bank account 5 years ago, and here we are today. So from a product standpoint, we decided we can't sacrifice quality for convenience. So everything is top shelf quality ingredients. As I said at the beginning of our conversation, no preservatives, no additives. If you go check 90% of what's out there, you're going to have a bunch of stuff on the back that you can't pronounce. I know it might be hard to see, but right here you can see we have fresh lime juice, agave, orange oil, and water. That's the only thing in here, which you can add. And then step 2 says add your liquor of choice. So some of them you can do vodka, gin, tequila, rum, champagne, even soda water for those that don't drink. So that's a little bit of just product development. It took about 3 years. We didn't have any money. If I was to do it over again, which we'd all do things different, I could probably spin a similar product out in probably 6 months. But the first 2 to 3 years is just us bootstrapping, and the mixer space was not very big. Matter of fact, it was mainly neon green plastic cups or plastic bottles. So like, there was definitely nothing in the industry. Now there's a ton of great products out there. But that was a little bit of just product development, was just really scrappy problem solving. I didn't want to raise funds and try to figure it out because I knew that would be too easy. It was like, no, let's stay scrappy and really learn how to build a great product. And I will say today that the result of our success is not our marketing spend and all these other things. It's the product is so damn good that people order it over and over and over. And at the end of the day, it solves that problem of making a drink at home. So a little bit of the product backstory. 5 years ago, yet it took me last year to actually quit my job and go all in. And that story is a remarkable story in and of itself.
Love it, man. No, this is super inspiring, and I appreciate you sharing all this. In terms of the business today, like, what does the team size look like, and what are some of the roles of your team members today?
Good question. When I met you in February of 2020 at Geek Out, shout out Nick. Great. That was a great podcast you did with Nick, by the way. Love him. When we were at Geek Out, we had never run a Facebook ad. We had no paid media. We had no email strategy. We had no distribution, no wholesale. I came out there as a one-man team, and I had one other person delivering stuff to liquor stores. We were maybe doing, 5, 6, 7,000 a month in total revenue, just delivering product door to door. When I came back from Geek Out, which is, for those that don't know, very e-com focused, from email to paid media, et cetera. I'm in the room with guys spending millions of dollars in paid ads. They're looking at this bottle going, you've never run an ad? This is liquid gold for the ad space. And for email, it's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I'm here with my buddy Chandler Welling. And they're like, oh, well, you're in good hands. He's the dude. Y'all are, and Chandler and I had only met one other time. And he's like, bro, come out to LA with me. We clicked. We became fast friends. We're still really good friends to this day. Hung out last week. And he was the first believer in like, hey, let me show you a world that you don't know. And it's going to be one that's going to have a significant impact. So we come back from Geek Out LA. Chandler and I work out a way, even though we didn't have much money, to onboard Facebook ads. And from then till now, that one channel allowed us to really scale the company up. But from there, open up Amazon. We're on Amazon Prime, depending on your area, probably same day shipping, to getting state distribution in Tennessee. And now we're working on Georgia and Florida. onboarding with brands like Williams Sonoma and some really awesome partnerships. And that all really stemmed from about last February till now. I believe we are between some advisory roles that I brought on, just key beverage experts that are, I'm just blessed to even have crossroads with them and have them behind the scenes with me. So between advisory and our sales team, CMO, a COO, I think we're right around 20 people. Actually, no, I just scheduled a big company dinner for July and there's 25 people.
Wow.
Again, early 2020, doing 8 or 9,000 a month and by myself. So it's a testament to, I think, that all in mentality, like being on the one foot in, one foot out, actually becomes a hindrance. Like the side hustle thing works, but once you, to an extent, but once that proof of concept and that clear vision forward and building your systems, your, what I like to call like scalably adaptive systems that can be replicated, and you can plug people into those systems and you start to solve problems as you get bigger. And as you get bigger, you're able to find better people than you. So that's been a neat story of being, I say this and I laugh about it, being the marketing guy, Instagram guy, photography guy, video guy, accounting guy, delivery guy, sales guy. Like it is, if you're listening and you're wearing 30 hats, like that's what you need to do. You have to wear 30 hats. So then you know how to steward it, remove it, and give it to somebody that is way better at doing it than you. So I think we have an amazing team, and most of our profit in the company just gets rolled back into finding more great people to help move the needle.
Man, I love this, and congrats. I mean, it's crazy to see from February 2020 to June of 2021, just the rocket ship of growth and the hustle and the hard work and the highs and the lows. So that's incredible. The last topic that I really want to cover is something that you kind of mentioned a little bit at the beginning. I want to talk about like how COVID had changed kind of consumer behavior and buying patterns, and kind of also like tying that in with like your e-commerce thoughts versus retail thoughts. Like how are you kind of positioned today, and how are you positioning in the future? Can we talk through some of that?
For sure. Obviously, we all know there's probably not anyone listening that can't resonate with what our lives looked like last year. And in many ways, it was devastating. And in some ways, it created challenges that we had to adapt to. And a lot of those led to some awesome outcomes. But, you start to think about as a people, we lost freedom in many ways. And in that freedom, a lot of people, that buying habit was justified to online buying, and it was geared toward comfort, right? We're not going out. When we go out, we generally are spending money on things that make us feel good and look good. And that could be food or beverage or going to the movies or shopping. But when all that freedom almost becomes enclosed to your home and your couch, you start to look for things that make you feel a little bit like what life was like before we quarantined. And drinking was one of those big things for people. And I'm sure in many ways there was more drinking than we all should have been doing. But in other ways, there was, I'm at home and tonight, it sounds good, that old fashioned that my bartender friend used to make up the road. Well, I can't go there now. And the next thing they do, which we all do, is we get on here and we start trying to solve a problem for ourselves. How do I make an old fashioned at home? Oh, it's Cinco. I'm going to type in margarita mixes. Bam, whoever is playing the game behind the scenes through advertising and email and paid media and owned media, all of a sudden becomes, there we are at the top of your search. You're going to Google, you're going to Amazon. And so I think in many ways it led a lot of our consumers to start looking for, what does staying at home look like? And for many of them, it looks like online shopping. And I think we rose to the top because the quality and because the systems and structures and the marketing efforts we were doing behind the scenes. So I think it just changed the behavior. And now it actually, not only did it explode beverage historically higher than it's ever been, it put mixers on the map in a way they've never been. And it's no longer like the liquor store is just about getting liquor. Now it's about, well, how do I want to experience that liquor? What new mixers have come out? What is the best looking one on the shelf? to buy something without knowing how it tastes is difficult. And so for us, we just had to brand it well, package it well, and make it taste well. But I think that's what the COVID era did, if you will, for our consumer, is made them more open to exploring beverages at home without buying 19 ingredients and looking on Pinterest and not being able to make it taste like they want, but then having all these extra ingredients in your fridge. Now it's everything you need in one bottle. You pour this over ice, you add liquor, you stir it or shake it, and you've got a fresh cocktail beverage that we have places in Nashville selling these at $12, $13, $14 in their restaurants. So you get that quality, but you're able to do that at home. And so I think for those reasons, COVID played a role in our consumer behavior for sure.
Yeah, that was beautifully summarized and well said. And I guess the last question I have is, don't give dollars, but as a percent, what's the markup between, or not the markup, what's like the distribution between sales coming from retail or like bars and things like that, restaurants, and what's the sales coming from online? What's it today, and where do you think it will be in a year from today?
It's a good question. So I would say most of last year, we grew about 1,100% from 2019 to 2020, obviously, but we shared a little bit about that. I would say a majority of that in the beginning was e-com. But what that did is, as that e-com cash flow was beginning, we were then able to start looking at the wholesale side and liquor stores and getting distribution. So I think last year as a whole, we were probably 65, 70% e-com, and the remaining 35 to 40 was probably wholesale. Now I'd say it's, depending on the month, it's pretty close to 50-50. And for us as a beverage company, we're building to sell. Whether we ever sell or not is a different question. But the mentality is built, the whole book Built to Sell is really the premise that got me thinking about how do you build it right and make it attractive along the way to where it's more omni-channel approach, not a singular approach where it's like, well, here's your e-com, all right, it's valued at this, or here's your 19,000 liquor stores, it's valued at this. What is attractive about what we're building at Withco is it's not singular focus. It is this omni-channel approach where the value of wholesale is significant to an acquisition if and when that ever comes. But also they can go, well, look at all these customers you own. Look at the emails that you guys are doing to build value. And email is one of our highest performing channels, thanks to Chase. Just his course and his ability to help us understand that story and how important it is has probably 7 or 8x its revenue just working and having someone on my team work exclusively with everything you're teaching, which is fantastic. So I think where it's going to go in the future for us, the play is obviously continuing to grow e-com. Is always going to be a focus because it allows us to actually have a relationship with our customer and engage and create a bigger a lifetime customer. But what we're focused heavily on over the next 12 to 24 months is national distribution. So I will summarize this in about 30 seconds. We are currently in Tennessee. We're working on launching Georgia right now, and we're also working on launching Florida. What that means is we go and we find a distributor. They say, hey, we have 10,000 liquor stores and bars and restaurants in a state. They take our product and they're the ones, the truck sitting outside of liquor stores and restaurants, dolling cases of product in. We've all seen it. Our goal is to probably be by the end of this year in 6 to 7 of the biggest drinking states. And then next year, probably roll into between 12 and 20 states for distribution. It's a heavier play, but at the end of the day, it's what will set us apart and really rise to the top, especially with all the competitors out there. Is market share for distribution is going to be huge in beverage. It's not, if you have a product company, it's not to say that that's the best route for all products. But for us, for the game we're trying to play with this, scale big and raise valuations fast, major top line focus with a very high awareness of bottom line. A buddy of mine, Josh Durham, says, top line is vanity, bottom line is sanity. And if you're listening right now, do not neglect the bottom line at all. So that's the future for us: state distribution, national distribution, and then just continuing to build a widely large family of Withco drinkers that are all drinking with company around the world. So that's where we're headed. And we're
Man,
going to
what
do
a
it.
fantastic, fantastic way to end it. Dude, I
Yep.
appreciate so much of your story and how transparent and all the insight. Thank you so, so much for being here. What's the best way for people to go try your product, for people to ask you a question, people to work with you, work for you? What are the best ways that people can find the website and kind of you personally?
Yep. I'll start with me personally. I try to share a lot of just my authentic journey. I don't really hold a lot back. Here's what I'm learning. I'm the type where I like to trip over something and talk about it while I'm still in pain. Then years down the road, try to say it in a way that relates. So if you want to follow just true, authentic entrepreneurial journey behind the scenes of the company and my life, my family, et cetera, you can follow me at Modern Day Leader on Instagram. That's my primary outlet for me personally. And as far as Withco, our website is Withco Cocktails. That's WITHCO cocktails.com. That's ultimately the best place to follow our journey, let alone become a customer. For those of you that prefer Amazon, we are on Amazon Prime. Just go to Amazon and type Withco. But definitely follow us on social media. That same handle is at Withco Cocktails. Love to have anybody listening. Give us a shot. Let me know what you think, and let Chase or I know. And I'm sure you guys are going to love it. There's, like I said, whether you drink whiskey, vodka, gin, rum, tequila, mezcal, or soda water, we kind of have covered the entire gamut. So yeah, follow us and find us on socials.
Amazing. Josh, thanks so much. Appreciate you.
Awesome, man. Thanks, Chase.
Of course.